The fluorescent lights of St. Vincent's Rehabilitation Center hummed above me like angry wasps. I'd learned to hate that sound over the past 3 years, sterile, constant, unforgiving. But that Tuesday morning, I barely noticed. Every nerve in my body was focused on the simple act of walking without screaming. My right ankle throbbed with each step, a hot pulse of pain that shot up my calf and bloomed behind my eyes. I kept my face neutral, my gait as even as I could manage. The reception desk was only 20 feet away. I could make it 20 feet. "Elena, you okay?" Marcus, the night security guard finishing his shift, studied me with concern, creasing his dark features. "Fine, just slept wrong." The lie tasted like copper on my tongue. He didn't believe me. I could see it in the way his jaw tightened, but he nodded anyway. Marcus had worked here long enough to recognize the patients who came through our doors, the ones with injuries that didn't match their stories, the ones who flinched at sudden movements. He'd never expected to see those signs in me. I made it to my office and closed the door, leaning against it as my legs finally gave way. The tears I'd been holding back since 4 a.m. spilled hot and angry down my cheeks. My hands shook as I unlocked my phone, staring at the 17 missed calls from Derek. "I'm sorry, baby. I didn't mean it. You know how I get when I'm stressed. Elena, answer your fucking phone. This is your fault. You pushed me." I deleted them all. Then I blocked his number for the 3rd time this month. The bruises on my ribs ached as I changed into my scrubs. Purple-black flowers bloomed across my torso. A garden of violence I'd have to hide from my patients, my colleagues, my grandmother, who called every Sunday expecting me to have my life together. At 28, I was supposed to be thriving. Instead, I was limping through my life, pretending everything was fine while slowly breaking apart. My first patient was at 8:30. I had 45 minutes to become someone who wasn't falling apart. I almost made it. The coffee shop on the ground floor was nearly empty when I hobbled in at 8:15. Just me, the barista, who always smelled like cinnamon, and a man in a charcoal suit sitting in the corner booth. I felt his eyes on me immediately. Not the casual glance of a stranger, but the focused attention of someone studying a problem. My skin prickled with awareness as I ordered my usual vanilla latte, hyper-conscious of my uneven gait, the way I favored my left side. "Bad night?" The barista's voice was gentle. Something like that. When I turned to find a seat, the man was still watching me. Our eyes met for a fraction of a second, and something electric shot down my spine. He was beautiful in a dangerous way, all sharp angles and controlled power. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble. But it was his eyes that trapped me, black as midnight, and just as deep. I looked away first, heat crawling up my neck. I found a table near the window, as far from him as possible, and tried to focus on my latte. The morning sun cut through the glass, warming my face, and for a moment, I let myself imagine a different life, one where I didn't flinch at raised voices, one where my body wasn't a map of someone else's anger. "You're limping." The voice came from directly behind me, low and controlled. I hadn't heard him approach. I twisted in my seat, immediately regretting the movement, as pain flared through my ribs. The man from the corner booth stood there, hands in his pockets, studying me with an intensity that made my breath catch. "I'm fine," I said automatically. "No, you're not." Something in his tone, not quite sympathy, not quite command, made my defenses crumble. "It's none of your business." "Maybe not." He pulled out the chair across from me and sat down without invitation. Up close, he was even more devastating. Mid-30s, expensive cologne that smelled like cedar and smoke, a small scar cutting through his left eyebrow. "But I'm making it my business. You can't just..." "Who hurt you?" The question hung in the air between us, sharp and unavoidable. I should have stood up, should have told him to leave me alone. Instead, I found myself answering, "My ex-boyfriend." His jaw tightened, the only sign of emotion in an otherwise perfectly controlled face. "Name." "Why?" "Name," he repeated, softer this time. Not a question. "Derek Mallory." The words fell out of me before I could stop them. "But I'm handling it." "You're not handling anything." He stood, and I realized how tall he was, at least 6'3", broad-shouldered, moving with the coiled grace of a predator. "You're surviving. There's a difference." Before I could respond, he was gone, disappearing through the coffee shop door like smoke. I sat there, heart hammering, wondering what the hell just happened, wondering why I'd told a complete stranger my ex's name, wondering why some part of me, some reckless, Desperate part hoped I'd see him again. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. You'll never leave me. You know that, right? We belong together. Derek had found a new number. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped my latte. The coffee shop suddenly felt too small, too exposed. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door, ignoring the fresh wave of pain in my ankle. I had patients waiting. A life to maintain, a mask to wear. But as I limped toward the elevator, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. That the man with the midnight eyes had seen past every carefully constructed lie I told myself. And for reasons I couldn't explain, that terrified me more than Derek ever had. By lunch, I'd almost convinced myself the morning encounter was meaningless. Just a stranger with good intentions and bad boundaries. By 3 o'clock, I'd filed it away as one of those odd city moments that meant nothing. Then my supervisor called me into her office. "Elena, you have a visitor." Patricia's voice was strange, careful. "He says it's urgent." My stomach dropped. "Derek?" "No, someone else. He's waiting in conference room B." The walk down the hallway felt endless. My mind raced through possibilities, each worse than the last. Had something happened to my grandmother? Had Derek done something that required police involvement? I pushed open the conference room door and froze. The man from the coffee shop sat at the head of the table, looking perfectly at ease in a room designed for hospital staff meetings. He'd removed his suit jacket, and I could see the way his white shirt stretched across his shoulders, the glint of a watch that probably cost more than my car. "You." The word came out accusatory. "Me." He gestured to the chair beside him. "Sit. I don't take orders from strangers. Dante Caruso." He extended his hand. "Now we're not strangers." I didn't move. The name triggered something in my memory, whispers among my patients. News articles I'd scrolled past. Rumors that circulated through the city's underbelly. Caruso. Real estate mogul. Philanthropist. And if the rumors were true, head of one of the most powerful crime families in the city. "I know who you are," I said quietly. His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Then you know I don't make empty promises. What are you doing here? Derek Mallory won't bother you again." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. "What did you do? What needed to be done?" He stood, moving around the table with that same predatory grace. "He had gambling debts with the Volkov family. Significant ones. He was using you as collateral without your knowledge." My legs went weak. I gripped the back of a chair. "That's not possible. He took photos of you sleeping, sent them to his bookie as proof he had something valuable." Dante's voice remained calm, clinical. "They were planning to use you as leverage, force you to cooperate with their operations inside this facility." The room tilted. This facility? Street. Vincent's treats several high-profile individuals who prefer discretion. The Volkovs wanted access to medical records, treatment schedules. They thought a physical therapist with no criminal connections would be perfect. Easy to control, easy to threaten. I sank into the chair, my mind reeling. "How do you know all this?" "Because I make it my business to know everything that happens in this city." He crouched in front of me, bringing us to eye level, this close. I could see flecks of amber in his dark eyes. "You witnessed something last night, didn't you? When Derek hurt you." The memory crashed over me. Derek's apartment, the men who'd shown up, the money on the table, the way they'd looked at me. "There were 3 men," I whispered. Speaking Russian. Derek was. He was terrified. Then one of them noticed me in the doorway. Viktor Volkov. Dante's jaw tightened. "He's dangerous, Elena. And now he knows your face." "So what? I go to the police?" "The police can't protect you from him." He stood, pacing to the window. "But I can." "Why would you do that?" He was silent for a long moment, staring out at the city sprawl. When he finally spoke, his voice was quieter. "Because I saw you limping this morning and I knew exactly what that meant. Because no one should have to walk into work pretending they're not broken." He turned back to me. "And because Derek Mallory is gone. Which means you're now a loose end that Victor will want to tie up." My heart stopped. "Gone? He's alive, relocated, somewhere he can think about his choices." Dante's expression was unreadable. "But his disappearance will raise questions. Victor will come looking for answers, and the last person Derek spoke to before vanishing was you." I wanted to be angry. Wanted to tell him he had no right to involve himself in my life. But terror was drowning everything else. "What do I do? You let me protect you. I don't need Elena." He moved closer, and I felt the air shift between us. This isn't a choice. Viktor Volkov doesn't leave witnesses, and you are, whether you intended to be or not, a witness. The fluorescent lights hummed above us. Somewhere down the hall, I heard the squeak of a medicine cart. The ordinary sounds of my ordinary life, suddenly feeling very far away. What does protection look like? You move into a secure location. My men watch you. You don't go anywhere alone. He paused. And you trust me. I laughed. A harsh sound that hurt my bruised ribs. Trust you? I don't even know you. You will. There was something in the way he said it, not quite a promise. Not quite a threat. Something that made my skin prickle with an awareness I didn't want to name. And if I refuse? Then you'll be dead within 48 hours. He said it without dramatics, just simple fact. Viktor doesn't waste time. I stared at him. This beautiful, dangerous man who'd walked into my life less than 8 hours ago and turned everything upside down. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I'd been running from Derek for months. And look where that had gotten me. Maybe it was time to try something different. 1 week, I heard myself say. I'll give you 1 week to figure this out. It'll take longer than that. Then you better work fast. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or respect. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone easier to save. I stood, ignoring the pain radiating through my body. I don't need saving, Mr. Caruso. I need time to figure out what the hell I've gotten myself into. There's a difference. His lips curved into a real smile this time, transforming his face from beautiful to devastating. Dante, and you're right. There is a difference. He pulled a card from his pocket and pressed it into my palm. His fingers were warm, calloused. I'll have a car waiting for you at 6. Bring whatever you need for a few days. I have patience. Already handled. Patricia approved a leave of absence. Family emergency. You can't just... I can. And I did. He headed for the door, then paused. One more thing, Elena. Don't trust anyone. Not your coworkers, not your neighbors. No one. Until this is over, the only person you can rely on is me. Then he was gone, leaving me alone in the conference room with a business card and the certain knowledge that my life would never be the same. I looked down at the card. Simple black lettering on expensive cardstock. Dante Caruso, Caruso Enterprises. And at the bottom, handwritten in precise script, "You're safe now." I wasn't sure if that was a promise or a lie, but as I tucked the card into my pocket, I realized it didn't matter. I was already in too deep. The car that arrived at 6 wasn't what I expected. No flashy sports car or obvious luxury sedan. Instead, a sleek, black SUV with tinted windows pulled up to the staff entrance, and a woman in her 40s stepped out. Elena Vasquez? She had short silver hair and eyes that missed nothing. I'm Sophia. Mr. Caruso sent me. I clutched my overnight bag tighter. He didn't mention that you'd have a female driver? Sophia's smile was knowing. He thought you might be more comfortable. Get in. The interior was leather and shadows. I slid into the back seat, and Sophia pulled away from the curb with the practiced ease of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. How long have you worked for him? I asked, watching the city slide past my window. 15 years. Sophia met my eyes in the rearview mirror. He saved my daughter's life. I'd walk through fire for that man. What happened? That's not my story to tell. Her voice softened. But you should know Dante doesn't do this for just anyone. Whatever he sees in you, it's real. I didn't know how to respond to that. We drove in silence through the early evening traffic, leaving behind the parts of the city I knew. The buildings grew taller, more expensive, old money and new power living side by side. Finally, Sophia pulled up to a high-rise that looked like it belonged in a movie, glass and steel reaching toward the darkening sky. Top 3 floors, she said. Completely secure. Dante's already there. My heart did something complicated in my chest. A private elevator. Biometric scanner. The doors opened directly into a penthouse that stole my breath. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Furniture that looked like art. And in the center of it all, Dante standing with 2 crystal glasses in his hands. You came? He sounded surprised. You didn't give me much choice. There's always a choice, Elena. He handed me one of the glasses. Whiskey, amber, and burning. You could have run. Where would I run to? Good question. He took a sip of his drink, watching me over the rim. Your room is down the hall, second door on the left. Sophia will bring up your things. That's it? You kidnap me and then send me to my room? I didn't kidnap you. I offered protection, which you accepted. His eyes darkened. And you're not a prisoner. You can leave whenever you want. But if you do, I can't guarantee your safety. I drank the whiskey too fast, letting it burn away the fear. Why are you really doing this? I told you. The truth, Dante. I set my glass down hard enough to make a sound. You don't upend someone's life because you saw them limping. There's something else. For a long moment, he just looked at me. Then he moved to the windows, staring out at the city lights like they held answers. When he spoke, his voice was different, quieter, raw. I had a sister once, Lucia. The name seemed to hurt him. She was 23, beautiful, brilliant, in love with the wrong man. I waited, barely breathing. He was like your Derek. Charming when he wanted to be, controlling always. She tried to leave him 3 times. His hands clenched into fists. The 4th time, he killed her, made it look like suicide. I didn't know until it was too late. The pain in his voice was unbearable. I found myself moving closer, drawn by the sudden vulnerability in this man who seemed carved from stone. How long ago? 10 years. He turned to face me, and I saw something raw in his expression. I built an empire after that, made myself powerful enough that no one could touch my family again. But power doesn't bring back the dead. It just makes you better at protecting what's left. What is Altaib Zedede? I'm sorry. The words felt inadequate. Don't be. Be angry. Be fierce. He moved closer, and I felt the heat radiating off him. Be the woman who tells mob bosses she doesn't take orders. That's the woman who survives. We stood there, separated by inches and miles. The city spread out behind us like a promise. I could smell his cologne, cedar and smoke. Could see the slight stubble on his jaw, the way his pulse beat in his throat. What happened to the man who killed her? I asked quietly. His smile was cold. He learned that there are worse things than death. I should have been terrified. Should have run screaming from this man who spoke so casually about violence. Instead, I felt something else entirely. Understanding. Recognition. This man who'd built walls so high no one could hurt him again. I knew what that felt like. I have something to show you, he said suddenly. He moved to a desk in the corner and returned with a leather folder. The Volkov's file on you. My hands shook as I opened it. Photos. Dozens of them. Me walking into work. Me at the grocery store. Me sleeping in Derek's bed. Vulnerable and unaware. My medical records. My financial information. My grandmother's address. The whiskey rose in my throat. They've been watching you for weeks, Dante said. Building a case. Derek was supposed to bring you in willingly. When he failed, he pointed to a notation at the bottom of the page, written in Russian, with an English translation clipped beside it. Acquisition approved. Use force if necessary. When? My voice came out strangled. Tomorrow night. They were planning to grab you outside the facility. The folder slipped from my fingers, photos scattering across the floor. My life, reduced to surveillance and strategy. I wrapped my arms around myself, feeling my bruised ribs protest. Hey. Dante's hand was gentle on my shoulder. Look at me. I raised my eyes to his. This close, I could see the amber flecks, the way his pupils had dilated. They won't touch you, he said. I promise you that. How can you promise anything? You don't even know me. I know enough. His thumb traced a gentle arc on my shoulder. I know you show up to work injured and pretend you're fine. I know you protect your patients even when you're barely holding yourself together. I know you're terrified right now, but you're not running. Maybe I'm just too tired to run. Maybe. His hand fell away, and I felt the loss of it. Or maybe you're finally ready to fight back. I looked at the scattered photos on the floor. My face, caught in unguarded moments. My life, dissected by strangers with bad intentions. What do they want from me? I asked. Really? It can't just be access to medical records. Dante's expression grew guarded. There's a patient coming to Street Vincent's next month. Senator Morrison. He's in our pocket, but the Volkovs want him dead. They need someone inside who can compromise his care. And they think I'd do that? Kill someone? They think they can force you to. Threaten your grandmother. Hurt you until you comply. He picked up one of the photos, me laughing with my coworker, unaware I was being watched. But they underestimated you. And they definitely underestimated me. What happens now? Now? He handed me a phone. New, untraceable. Now we make them think you're already mine. Completely, utterly, under my protection and out of their reach. Won't that start a war? Yes. He smiled, and it was terrifying and beautiful. But I've been looking for an excuse to go after Viktor Volkov for years. You just gave me one. I stared at this man who'd become my unlikely savior, my dangerous protector. You're insane. Probably. He headed toward the kitchen. Are you hungry? Sophia left food. The casual shift was so jarring I almost laughed. You just told me you're starting a war over me, and now you're asking about dinner. Wars are fought better on a full stomach. And despite everything, the fear, the confusion, the photos still scattered on the floor, I found myself following him into the kitchen. Maybe I was just as insane as he was. I woke at 3 a.m. to the sound of voices, low, tense, coming from somewhere in the penthouse. For a moment, I lay in the unfamiliar bed, disoriented. Then memory crashed back. Dante, Viktor, the photos, my new reality. I slipped out of bed, wearing the oversized t-shirt I'd packed, and crept toward the voices. The hallway was dark, but light spilled from Dante's study. The door was cracked open. Can't guarantee her safety if you move her again. A man's voice, rough with age. Then we don't move her. Dante, we bring them to us. That's suicide. That's strategy. A pause. Leo, I need you to trust me on this. I've trusted you for 20 years, Dante. But this girl, Elena, is a liability we can't afford. The Volkovs know you have her. They'll come with everything. Good. Let them come. I should have stayed hidden. Should have gone back to bed. Instead, I pushed the door open. Both men turned. Dante stood behind his desk, shirt sleeves rolled up, looking like he hadn't slept. The other man, Leo, was older, 60s maybe, with a face carved by experience and violence. Sorry, I said. I heard voices. Elena, Dante's voice held warning. Go back to bed. Am I a liability? Leo's eyes flickered to Dante. She was listening. Apparently. Dante's jaw tightened. Leo, give us a minute. The older man left without argument, but not before shooting me a look that was equal parts assessment and pity. When the door closed, Dante moved around his desk. How much did you hear? Enough to know I'm causing you problems. You're not. Don't lie to me. I moved closer, anger burning through my fear. If I'm going to be a pawn in your war, at least respect me enough to tell me the truth. Something shifted in his expression. You're not a pawn. Then what am I? I don't know yet. The honesty in those words was startling. 3 days ago, you didn't exist to me. Now, he trailed off, running a hand through his hair in a gesture that was painfully human. Now you're all I can think about. The air between us turned electric. That's just guilt, I said quietly. About your sister. Maybe. He stepped closer. Or maybe it's the way you look at me like I'm not a monster. I haven't decided if you're a monster yet. Fair. His lips curved. What will it take to convince you? Time. Truth. I held his gaze. And answers. Starting with, what happens when the Volkovs come? He studied me for a long moment, then gestured to the leather chairs by the window. We sat, the city lights glittering below us. Viktor has a warehouse on the east side, Dante began. That's where he runs his operations. If we hit him there, we draw him out. That's your plan? Attack him? It's more nuanced than that. He leaned back. Viktor's nephew, Alexei, has been skimming from family profits. Viktor knows but hasn't acted yet, maintaining family unity. If we provide proof of the theft, make it public within their organization, they turn on each other. Exactly. While they're fractured, we move you somewhere even safer. By the time Viktor stabilizes his operation, you'll be untouchable. I processed this. And Derek? Where does he fit? Derek is leverage. We're keeping him comfortable, but hidden. If Viktor finds him first, Derek will tell him everything, including how much you know. Dante's eyes darkened. That can't happen. So Derek is a prisoner. Derek is breathing. Given what he did to you, I'd say he's lucky. The venom in his voice sent a shiver through me. What would you have done if I hadn't agreed to protection? Protected you anyway. He said it simply, from a distance, without your knowledge, but you deserve better than shadows. Do I? I pulled my knees to my chest, suddenly exhausted. I stayed with Derek for 8 months. I made excuses for him. I lied to everyone who asked if I was okay. Maybe I'm exactly the liability Leo thinks I am. Elena. He's right to be worried. I'm nobody. A physical therapist who can't even keep herself safe. Why are you really doing this? Dante was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then he stood, moved to the window, pressed his palm against the glass. When Lucia died, I made a promise. His voice was barely above a whisper. That I'd never let another woman suffer because I was too late. Too blind. Too caught up in my own power to see what was happening right in front of me. You can't save everyone. I know. He turned to face me. But I can save you, and maybe that's enough. The vulnerability in those words broke something open in my chest. I stood, crossed the space between us. Up close, I could see the exhaustion in his face, the weight he carried. What if I don't want to be saved? I said softly. What if I just want to be seen? His breath hitched. Elena, tell me I'm not going crazy. That this, whatever this is, isn't just trauma and proximity. It's not. His hand came up, fingers barely touching my jaw. But it's also dangerous, complicated. I'm not a good man. I'm not asking you to be good. My heart was hammering. I'm asking you to be honest. Honest? His thumb traced my cheekbone. Honestly, you scare the hell out of me. Because wanting you means you become a target. Because you make me feel things I thought died with Lucia. Because I'd burn this entire city down to keep you safe. And that kind of feeling is dangerous for a man like me. I leaned into his touch, feeling his warmth. And if I told you I want to be worth burning a city for, then I'd say you already are. The moment stretched between us, fragile and fierce. Then his phone buzzed, shattering the spell. He stepped back, and I felt the cold rush in. Leo, he said into the phone. His expression shifted. When? How many? Stall them. I'm coming down. He hung up. When he looked at me, his eyes were hard. They're here. The Volkovs. Somehow they tracked you to this building. My blood turned to ice. How is that possible? I don't know. But we need to move. Now. He grabbed my hand, pulled me toward the door. Sophia's bringing the car around. You go with her. Don't look back. What about you? I'll handle Victor. Dante. Elena. He stopped, cupped my face in both hands. Trust me, please. I looked into those midnight eyes and saw fear. Real, human fear. Not for himself. For me. Okay, I whispered. He kissed my forehead, quick and fierce. Then he was pushing me toward the elevator, toward Sophia's capable hands. As the doors closed between us, I saw Dante pull a gun from his desk drawer. Saw him transform from the vulnerable man who'd touched my face into something cold and deadly. I saw exactly what he was capable of becoming, and I realized I was no longer sure who scared me more, Victor Volkov, or the man sworn to protect me from him. Sophia drove like she was running from the devil himself. We took back streets and alleys, the SUV's engine growling as she navigated the city's underbelly with practiced precision. Where are we going? My voice sounded hollow. Safe. House. 20 minutes outside the city. Her eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. Don't worry about Dante. He survived worse. You keep saying that like it's supposed to comfort me. It should. The man's a survivor. She took a sharp turn. But you already know that, don't you? I didn't answer. My phone, the new one Dante had given me, buzzed. Stay with Sophia. I'll find you when it's clear. Relief flooded through me. Then another message. And Elena? That thing between us? We're talking about it. Soon. I pressed the phone against my chest, feeling my pulse race. The safe house turned out to be a cabin buried in dense woods. Modern but isolated. With reinforced doors and security cameras I could spot even in the darkness. Sophia led me inside, checked every room with military efficiency. Food in the fridge. Generator out back if the power cuts. Weapons in the false panel behind the couch. She handed me a gun. You know how to use this? No. Then don't touch it unless you absolutely have to. She headed for the door. I'll be outside in the car. Any problems? You scream. Then I was alone in a stranger's cabin, clutching a phone and waiting for news. The hours crawled past. I tried to sleep, but every sound sent adrenaline spiking through my veins. At dawn, I gave up and made coffee, watching the sunrise paint the trees gold through the window. My old life felt like something that had happened to someone else. Just days ago, my biggest concern was managing my patient load and avoiding Derek's calls. Now I was hiding in the woods, waiting to hear if the man who'd appointed himself my protector had survived the night. The man I was dangerously close to falling for. The realization should have terrified me. Instead, it felt inevitable. Like gravity. Like falling. The phone rang at 7 a.m. I'm coming to you," Dante said without preamble. His voice was rough, exhausted. "ETA 30 minutes. Are you hurt?" "Nothing that won't heal." A pause. "Were you worried about me? You're the only thing standing between me and a Russian mobster." Of course I was worried. That's not what I asked. I leaned against the kitchen counter, feeling my walls crumble. Yes, I was worried. Satisfied? Getting there. I could hear the smile in his voice. "See you soon, Elena." He arrived exactly 30 minutes later, stepping out of a black sedan with Leo and 2 other men I didn't recognize. There was blood on his shirt, and his right hand was wrapped in bandages, but he was alive. Whole. I met him at the door before I could stop myself. "You're hurt." "Barely." But he winced when I touched his arm. Victor brought 15 men. We convinced them to leave. Convinced? Persuaded. His eyes were dark, unreadable. "They won't be back for a while." Leo and the others disappeared into the cabin, leaving us alone on the porch. Morning mist curled around the trees, turning everything soft and unreal. "Let me see your hand," I said. "Elena, I'm a physical therapist, remember? Let me see." He held out his hand reluctantly. I unwrapped the bandages carefully, revealing torn knuckles and defensive cuts. Evidence of violence I could only imagine. "You need stitches. I'll survive." "Surviving isn't the same as healing." I met his eyes. "You taught me that." Something shifted in his expression. He let me lead him inside to the kitchen, where I found a first aid kit and set about cleaning his wounds. He watched me work in silence, and I felt the weight of his gaze like a physical thing. "You're good at this," he finally said. "It's my job." "No, I mean taking care of people, even when they don't deserve it. You're protecting me. That deserves something." His uninjured hand caught my wrist, gentle. "Is that all I am to you? Protection?" I looked up, and the intensity in his eyes stole my breath. "I don't know what you are yet. Let me help you figure it out." He pulled me closer, and I let him. Let him guide me until I was standing between his knees, his face level with mine. "This is a terrible idea," I whispered. "The best ones usually are. We barely know each other. I know you take your coffee with too much sugar. I know you favor your right side when you're tired. I know you bite your lip when you're thinking." His thumb traced said lip, and I felt heat flood through me. "I know you're terrified, but you face it anyway. What else do I need to know? That I'm broken. That Derek was a coward who hurt you because he couldn't handle his own weakness." Dante's voice turned hard. "You're not broken, Elena. You're healing. There's a difference." My eyes burned. "You keep saying that because you need to hear it." He stood, and suddenly we were chest to chest, his hands on my waist. "And because I need you to understand something." "What?" "This isn't just about protection anymore." His forehead touched mine. "It stopped being just that the moment you stood in my study at 3 a.m. and demanded the truth. Dante, I know it's too soon. I know you're vulnerable, and I should be keeping my distance. But Elena," he pulled back just enough to meet my eyes. "I'm already in too deep, and I think you are too." He was right. God help me, he was right. "This is insane," I breathed. "Probably. We could both die. Possibly. You're a criminal. Definitely." His lips curved. "Still here?" I should have pulled away. Should have remembered all the reasons this was a disaster waiting to happen. Instead, I rose on my toes and kissed him. It was soft at first, tentative. His sharp inhale, my trembling hands on his chest. Then his good hand tangled in my hair, and he deepened the kiss, and I felt everything else fall away. The fear, the danger, the impossibility of us. There was only his mouth on mine, his body solid against me, the way he held me like I was precious and fierce all at once. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. "Still a terrible idea," I managed. "The worst." He kissed my forehead, my cheeks, the corner of my mouth. "But I'm not letting you go, Elena. Not now. Not when the Volkovs are dealt with. Maybe not ever." That sounds like a threat. It's a promise. And standing there in the morning light, wrapped in the arms of a dangerous man who looked at me like I hung the stars, I believed him, even if I shouldn't have. We spent the next 2 days at the cabin in a strange bubble of domesticity and danger. Leo and his men kept watch. Sophia came and went with supplies and updates, and Dante and I existed in the spaces between learning each other in stolen moments. I discovered he took his coffee black, that he had a scar on his collarbone from a knife fight when he was 19, that he spoke fluent Italian and Russian, read poetry he'd never admit to liking, and played piano when he thought no one was listening. That third night, I found him at the cabin's old upright, his bandaged hand moving carefully over the keys. Chopin, melancholy and beautiful. I didn't know you played, he stilled. Lucia taught me. She was the talented one. I sat beside him on the bench, close enough to feel his warmth. Tell me about her. He was quiet so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then his good hand returned to the keys, picking out a simple melody. She laughed at everything. Inappropriate jokes, my terrible cooking, our father's lectures. His voice was soft, distant. After our mother died, Lucia was the only light in our house. When she died too, you became someone who doesn't laugh. I became someone who makes sure no one else's light gets snuffed out. He turned to look at me, but then you walked into my life limping and scared and somehow still strong, and I remembered what it felt like to want to protect someone, not out of duty or guilt, but because the thought of the world without you in it feels wrong. My throat tightened. Dante. I know I'm damaged goods, Elena. I know I've done things that would make you run if you knew the details. But when I look at you, I see something I thought I'd lost. Hope, maybe, or just the possibility that I could be someone better. I took his bandaged hand in mine, careful of the healing wounds. You don't need to be better. You just need to be real. What if real isn't good enough? What if it's exactly enough? He kissed me then, soft and searching, and I tasted the loneliness he carried, the weight of a decade spent building walls. I kissed him back, trying to show him that walls could come down, that healing was possible, that maybe we were both broken in ways that could fit together. When we broke apart, his eyes were bright. Stay tonight. In my room, Dante. Not for that, not yet. His thumb traced my jaw. Just stay. I sleep better when you're close, so I did. We lay in his bed fully clothed, his arm around me, my head on his chest. I listened to his heartbeat slow as he drifted off, felt the way his breathing evened out, and for the first time since Derek hurt me, I felt safe, not because I was hiding, but because I was choosing to be here, with this complicated man who'd somehow become essential. I woke to Dante's phone ringing. He tensed immediately, reaching for it. Leo. A pause. When? How bad? I'm coming. He was out of bed before I could process, already pulling on clothes. There's been a development. What kind? Victor knows about this location. We have maybe an hour before he arrives. He threw a bag at me. Pack. We're moving. Fear spiked through my veins. How did he find us? I don't know. But we're not waiting to ask questions. The cabin erupted into controlled chaos. Leo and his men swept through, gathering weapons and equipment. Sophia appeared with a new vehicle, and I stood in the middle of it all, feeling reality crash back. This was real. The danger, the threat, not some romantic fantasy where love conquered all. Elena. Dante pulled me aside. I need you to listen carefully. We're splitting up. What? No. It's strategic. You go with Sophia and Marco to a secondary location. I stay here with Leo. Make Victor think we're both holed up. His hands gripped my shoulders. When he comes for us, he'll be exposed, vulnerable. We can end this. Or you could die. I won't. You don't know that. My voice broke. Dante, you can't ask me to just leave you here. I'm not asking. His voice gentled. Elena, this is the play. You're safest away from me right now. I don't care about safe. I care about you. The words hung between us, too honest, too raw. His eyes darkened. You shouldn't. You should get as far from me as possible. Go back to your normal life. Forget any of this happened. Is that what you want? What I want doesn't matter. It matters to me. He pulled me into his arms, fierce and desperate. Then want me to survive this. Want me to end Victor and come find you. Because that's the only way this works. I buried my face in his chest, breathing him in. Cedar, and smoke, and something uniquely Dante. Promise me you'll be careful. I promise. Promise me you won't do anything stupid. That I can't promise. He tilted my chin up. But I promise I'll come back to you. Whatever it takes. He kissed me then, hard and claiming, like he was trying to memorize the taste of me. I kissed him back with everything I had, trying to pour 10,000 unsaid words into the contact. When Sophia called my name, I felt something tear in my chest. Go, Dante said roughly. Now. I grabbed my bag, took 3 steps, then turned back. Dante? When this is over, we're taking a real vacation. Somewhere with beaches and 0 Russians. His smile was devastating. I promise. That was the last time I saw him before everything went wrong. Sophia drove for 30 minutes before pulling over at a gas station. I need to check the oil. Stay in the car. I nodded, too numb to argue. Watched her pop the hood, disappear around front. That's when I saw the second text on my phone. Not from Dante. From a number I didn't recognize. He lied to you. Dante's the one who told Victor where you were. He's using you as bait. Get out now. My blood turned to ice. It couldn't be true. Dante wouldn't. Another text, this time with a photo. Dante and Victor, shaking hands. Timestamp from 2 days ago. My world tilted. Sophia returned, and I looked at her with new eyes. Seeing the weapon at her hip, the way she kept glancing at her phone. Change of plans, she said. Dante wants us to go back. Back to the cabin? Yes. He says he needs you there. Every instinct screamed danger. Why? He didn't say, just that it's important. I stared at this woman I'd trusted, wondering if everything had been a lie, wondering if the man I'd kissed, the man I'd started to fall for, was just another version of Derek, another man using me. Okay, I heard myself say. Let's go back. But as Sophia started the engine, I was already planning my escape. Because I'd been someone's victim once, I refused to be one ever again. I waited until Sophia stopped at a red light 3 blocks from the cabin. Then I did the only thing I could think of. I opened the door and ran. Elena! Sophia's shout chased me, but I was already darting between cars, into an alley, my ankle screaming in protest. I heard the SUV door slam. Footsteps behind me. I ran anyway. The city blurred around me. Morning commuters, confused faces, someone yelling. I ducked into a coffee shop, out the back exit, through a parking garage. My lungs burned. My ankle was on fire, but fear drove me forward. Finally, when I couldn't hear Sophia anymore, I collapsed behind a dumpster in an alley, gasping for air. The burner phone buzzed. Elena, where are you? Sophia says you ran. Dante. Of course he knew, because he'd been tracking me all along. I stared at the message, at the photo of him with Victor. Had it all been a lie? The protection, the promises, the kiss that had felt like coming home? A different text appeared. The unknown number. Smart girl. Now get to 428 Westbridge, 3rd floor. Someone will help you. I had 2 choices. Trust Dante, who might be using me, or trust a stranger offering help. I chose the stranger. The building at 428 Westbridge was abandoned. Windows broken. Graffiti covering the walls. I climbed the stairs on shaking legs, every instinct screaming this was a trap. The 3rd floor was a gutted office space, empty, except for one man standing by the windows. He turned as I entered, and my heart stopped. Hello, Elena. Victor Volkov smiled. I've been looking forward to meeting you. I spun for the door, but 2 men blocked my path. Trapped. Please, sit. Victor gestured to a folding chair. We have much to discuss. I'm not telling you anything. I'm not asking you to. He moved closer, and I saw he was older than I'd imagined. 50s, with cold blue eyes and a face that might have been handsome before violence carved it hollow. I'm here to offer you truth. Something Dante Caruso seems incapable of providing. I don't believe anything you say. Smart. He pulled out his phone, showed me a video. But perhaps you'll believe your own eyes. The video showed Dante meeting Victor in what looked like a warehouse. They were talking, too far from the camera to hear clearly. Then Victor handed Dante a folder. The same folder Dante had shown me, the one with my photos, my information. My stomach dropped. Dante came to me 3 weeks ago, Victor said quietly. He wanted information on you. Said he was planning to use you to draw out my organization, expose our operations. He paid me very well for that folder. You're lying. Am I? Victor pocketed his phone. Ask yourself, how did a man you'd never met know exactly when you'd be vulnerable? How did he show up at that coffee shop at precisely the right moment? How did he know Derek's name before you even said it clearly? The questions burrowed into my mind like poison. He followed you for days, Elena. Studied you, learned your routine, and when Derek provided the perfect entry point, Dante took it. You were never a victim he saved. You were a chess piece he positioned. Why are you telling me this? Because I don't believe in using innocent people. Victor's voice turned hard. Derek Mallory owed me money. Yes. But I would never have touched you. You were never in danger from me. Only from Dante's ambition. The room spun. I gripped the chair to keep from falling. So what do you want? I want you to testify. Tell the authorities what Dante has done. How he manipulated you, kidnapped you, held you against your will. Help me put him away legally. And I promise you'll never hear from my organization again. It was too neat, too perfect. But the video played in my mind. Dante taking that folder, planning this whole thing. Had any of it been real? I need time to think. You have 1 hour. Victor headed for the door. My men will wait outside. After that, I'll assume you've chosen unwisely. Then I was alone with my thoughts, and a decision that could destroy everything. I used the hour to think. Really think, past the fear and betrayal. Dante had known my name. He'd known about Derek. But I'd told him Derek's name myself, hadn't I? In the coffee shop, when he'd asked directly. The video showed him taking the folder. But it didn't show what he paid for it. Didn't show context. And Victor's offer testify legally? Since when did Russian mobsters care about legal channels? My phone buzzed. Dante again. Elena, whatever Victor told you is a lie. He's been monitoring our communications. He sent those texts pretending to expose me. It's a trap. Another message immediately after. I know you don't trust me right now. But check the folder. The real one. Back page. There's something there Victor doesn't know about. I pulled out the photos I'd grabbed from the cabin. The folder Dante had shown me days ago. I flipped to the back page. There, in small print, was a sale record. The folder had been purchased from Victor's lieutenant 3 months ago, before Derek had even hurt me, before Dante had supposedly targeted me. The date alone proved Victor was lying. But why would Dante have been researching me 3 months ago? A third text appeared. Because I was investigating Derek, not you. He was laundering money through Street Vincent's billing system. You were collateral research, someone who might have information. Then I saw you in that coffee shop, and everything changed. The door burst open. Not Victor's men. Dante, bleeding from his temple, gun in hand. Leo and Sophia behind him. Get away from her! Victor's voice, furious. I turned. Victor had appeared in the opposite doorway, weapon drawn, and I was caught in the middle. Elena, step away from him. Dante's voice was controlled, but I heard the fear underneath. She's not going anywhere with you, Caruso. Victor cocked his gun. You've already lost. The only person losing anything today is you. Dante's eyes never left Victor. I have proof of your operations. Every bribe, every transaction, every murder, and it's already with the FBI. Victor's expression faltered. That's right. Dante's smile was cold. While you were busy trying to turn Elena against me, I was busy burning your empire down. By tomorrow you'll be in federal custody. Your assets frozen. Your family scattered. You're bluffing. Am I? Check your phone. Victor did. His face went white. What's it going to be, Victor? Surrender now, or die in a building I've had surrounded for the past hour? Time seemed to stop. Then Victor lowered his weapon. Smart choice. Dante gestured to Leo. Take him. As Victor was led away, Dante finally looked at me. Really looked. I saw exhaustion, fear, and something raw and desperate. You came back, I said quietly. I promised I would. Victor said you planned all of this. That you manipulated me. I won't lie to you, Elena. I was investigating Derek, which led me to you. But the moment I saw you limping into that coffee shop, everything else became background noise. He took a step closer. I didn't plan to care about you. I didn't plan any of this. But you paid Victor for that folder. I paid his lieutenant, who was secretly working for me. The folder was proof of Victor's surveillance operations. I needed it to bring him down. His voice softened. You were never bait, Elena. You were the reason I accelerated everything. Because the thought of Victor or anyone else hurting you made me crazy. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. How do I know you're telling the truth? You don't. He holstered his weapon. You'll just have to trust me. Or walk away. Your choice. The sirens started then, police, federal agents, the cavalry arriving. People flooded the building, and I stood frozen in the chaos, staring at the man who'd turned my life upside down. The man I'd started to love despite every reason not to. Elena. He extended his hand. Come with me, please. I looked at that outstretched hand, thinking about trust and truth, and all the ways people hurt each other. Then I thought about how he'd kissed me, how he'd held me while I slept, how he'd looked at me like I was worth burning cities for. I took his hand. The federal building was cold, fluorescent lights, and exhausted agents. They separated us immediately, me to one room, Dante to another. For 6 hours, I answered questions while detectives verified my story, checked Dante's evidence, pieced together Victor's organization. Finally, Agent Morrison, a woman in her 40s with shrewd eyes, sat across from me. "You're free to go, Miss Vasquez. Mr. Caruso's evidence checks out. Victor Volkov is being charged with racketeering, attempted kidnapping, and about 15 other counts." She paused. "You're lucky to be alive." "I know. Do you?" She leaned forward. "Mr. Caruso is not a good man, Miss Vasquez. His evidence helped us today, but don't mistake him for a hero. He runs one of the largest criminal organizations in the city. He saved my life. He saved my life. This time, but men like him? They're dangerous in ways that aren't always obvious." She stood. "Just be careful. The pretty monsters are still monsters." Her words followed me into the hallway, where Dante waited. He looked exhausted, his shirt still blood-stained, bandage on his temple fresh. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey." We stood there, awkward and uncertain, while federal agents moved around us like we were stones in a river. "I should take you home," he finally said. "Which home?" "I don't think I can go back to my apartment. My place. Until we figure out what's next." He hesitated. "Unless you want to go somewhere else. Your grandmother's maybe, or your place is fine." The drive back was silent. I stared out the window, watching the city pass, feeling untethered from reality. Everything had happened so fast, the danger, the protection, the kiss, the betrayal, that wasn't really a betrayal. "You can ask me," Dante said quietly. "Whatever you want to know. I'll tell you the truth. Why did you really help me?" "I told you. The real reason, Dante. Not the one about Lucia, or guilt, or any of that." I turned to face him. "Why me?" He was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled the car over, putting it in park. The engine ticked as it cooled. "Because when I saw you that morning, limping and trying so hard to be strong, I recognized something in you." His hands gripped the steering wheel. "My mother was like that. After my father's abuse, she'd put on makeup, smile at neighbors, pretend everything was fine. Until one day she couldn't pretend anymore. How did she die? She didn't. She left. When I was 12, she packed a bag and disappeared. I found out years later she'd started a new life in Seattle. New name, new family. She'd survived by erasing us completely." The pain in his voice was devastating. "I'm not going to leave," I said softly. "You should. You should run as far from me as possible." "What if I don't want to run?" He turned to me finally, and I saw fear in his eyes. "Elena, I'm not Derek, but I'm not safe either. My world is violence and secrets. People get hurt around me. People die. People die everywhere, Dante. At least with you. I'm fighting back. You don't understand what you're saying. Then explain it to me. Show me the worst of it. Let me decide if I can handle it." He studied me for a long moment. Then he started the car. "Okay. But don't say I didn't warn you." Jury, we didn't go to his penthouse. Instead, Dante drove to a warehouse on the edge of the city. Industrial, isolated. The kind of place where screams wouldn't carry. "This is where I work," he said simply. Inside, it was surprisingly clean. An office upstairs, storage below, and in the center, a man tied to a chair. Derek. My breath caught. "Before you ask, yes, I've kept him here. No, he hasn't been harmed beyond the initial persuasion." Dante's voice was matter of fact. "I wanted you to see him, to understand what I'm capable of." Derek looked up as we approached. His face was thinner, his eyes haunted. When he saw me, something like relief crossed his features. "Elena, thank God. Tell them I didn't mean to." "Shut up." My voice was cold. "You sold me to the Volkovs. I was going to pay them back. I just needed time. You put my life in danger, my grandmother's life, all because you couldn't control your gambling. Baby, please, don't call me that." I crouched in front of him, meeting his eyes. "You hurt me, Derek, over and over. And I let you because I thought I could fix you. But you know what I learned? Some people don't want to be fixed." I stood, turned to Dante. "What happens to him now? That's up to you." "Me? You're the one he wronged. You decide his fate." Dante's expression was unreadable. "I can make him disappear, permanently, Or I can relocate him somewhere he'll never bother you again. Or I can let him go. The weight of that choice pressed down on me. I looked at Derek, at the man who'd made me feel small and scared, the man who'd nearly gotten me killed. I want him to disappear, I said slowly. But not like you mean. I want him in therapy. Real therapy. And if he ever comes near me or anyone I care about again, then you can make him disappear the other way. Dante's lips curved. Compassionate. I didn't expect that. I'm not doing it for him. I'm doing it because I don't want his blood on my hands. I looked at Derek one last time. Goodbye, Derek. I hope you get help, but if you don't, you'll have earned whatever comes next. We left him there, me feeling lighter than I had in months. You surprised me, Dante said, as we walked back to the car. Good. I like keeping you on your toes. He caught my hand, pulled me to a stop. Elena, I need you to understand something. What you saw in there. That's the gentlest version of what I do. There have been people in that chair who didn't walk out. People I've hurt, killed, destroyed. I'm not a good man, trying to be better. I'm a dangerous man, trying not to destroy the few good things I have. I know. Do you? Because once you're really in my world, there's no going back. The danger doesn't end with Victor. There will always be another threat, another enemy. If you stay with me, you'll never be completely safe. I stepped closer, until we were sharing air. Dante, I spent 8 months with Derek feeling unsafe. I spent years before that alone and scared. Maybe I'll never be completely safe with you, but at least I'll be alive. Really alive. Fighting instead of hiding. You're insane. Probably. I smiled. But so are you. Maybe that's why this works. He kissed me then, deep and desperate, and I felt something settle in my chest. This was real. Dangerous and complicated and absolutely real. When we broke apart, he pressed his forehead to mine. If you stay, I'll do everything in my power to protect you. But Elena, I need you to promise me something. What? Promise that if it gets to be too much, you'll tell me. That you'll walk away before my world breaks you. I thought about that. About Agent Morrison's warning. About the violence I'd witnessed. About the uncertain future stretching before us. I promise, I finally said. If it breaks me, I'll leave. But Dante? I think I'm stronger than you give me credit for. I know you are. That's what scares me. We drove back to the penthouse as dawn broke over the city. And for the first time in days, maybe in years, I felt like I was exactly where I needed to be. Even if it was dangerous. Even if it was crazy. Even if it was exactly the kind of choice that could destroy me. The penthouse felt different when we returned. Not safer. Exactly. But more honest. Like the walls themselves had stopped pretending. You should shower, Dante said. I'll make food. You cook? I make passable scrambled eggs. Don't expect miracles. I found myself smiling as I headed to the bathroom. The hot water felt like absolution, washing away the last 2 weeks of fear and confusion. When I emerged in borrowed clothes, one of Dante's shirts, soft pants that didn't quite fit, he was in the kitchen, true to his word, making eggs. Coffee's ready, he said without turning around. We ate in comfortable silence, and I realized this was the first normal moment we'd shared. No threats, no secrets. Just 2 people sharing breakfast as dawnlight filled the apartment. What happens now? I finally asked. Legally? The FBI will need you for Victor's trial. That's months away, but they'll want you available. He set down his fork. Practically, you need to decide what kind of life you want. What do you mean? I mean you can go back to Street Vincent's, resume your career. I'll make sure you're protected, but from a distance. Or, he trailed off. Or you stay here, with me, in this world. His eyes met mine. But Elena, you need to understand what that means. It means becoming part of my life completely, meeting my associates, understanding the business, accepting the risks. It means trust, absolute and terrifying. And if I choose my old life, something flickered in his expression. Then I'll let you go. I'll make sure you're safe, that Victor's people never touch you. But I won't be part of your daily life. It would be too dangerous for both of us. The choice hung between us, heavy and irreversible. Can I ask you something first? Anything. When you played piano that night at the cabin, you looked peaceful. Like you'd forgotten to be the dangerous man for a minute. I moved closer. Do you ever wish you could be someone else? Someone normal? He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then he took my hand, tracing patterns on my palm. When I was 25, I tried to leave. After Lucia died, I wanted out of the family business. I applied to graduate school, planned to study architecture of all things. His voice was soft, distant. My father found out. He made it very clear that the only way out was in a coffin. So I stayed. I took over. I became the thing I'd tried to escape. You could still leave. No, too many people depend on me now. Too many families who need protection. Businesses that would collapse. Alliances that keep the peace. If I walked away, hundreds of people would suffer. He looked up at me. So instead, I try to be better than my father, kinder, smarter. I try to make this world less brutal, even if I can't make it clean. That's why you helped me, not just because of Lucia, but because you're trying to be better. Maybe. His thumb traced my wrist. Or maybe I'm just selfish. Maybe I saw you and wanted you, and everything else was justification. Would that be so bad? Yes. The word was fierce. Because you deserve better than to be someone's selfish choice. I pulled my hand away, standing. He watched me, expression guarded, clearly expecting me to walk away. Instead, I moved around the table and straddled his lap. Elena, let me decide what I deserve. I cupped his face, feeling the stubble rough against my palms. You've been making decisions for me since we met, protecting me, moving me, handling Derek. All good decisions, necessary ones. But this choice is mine. What choice? Whether to stay or go. Whether to trust you or run. I leaned in until our lips were almost touching. And I choose to stay. His hands came up to grip my waist, fingers digging in. You don't know what you're saying. I do. I'm saying I see you, Dante Caruso. The dangerous parts and the gentle parts. The violence and the piano playing. The man who kidnaps his enemies and the one who makes passable scrambled eggs. I kissed him softly. And I want all of it. Elena. His voice broke on my name. I'm not Lucia. I'm not your mother. I'm not running. I kissed him again, deeper. I'm staying. Fight me on it. He didn't fight. Instead, he stood, lifting me with him, and carried me to his bedroom. We fell onto the bed together, a tangle of limbs and breathing, and finally being honest about what we wanted. This changes everything, he said against my throat. Good. I want everything changed. We made love slowly, learning each other's bodies with the same intensity we'd learned each other's secrets. Every touch felt like a revelation, every kiss, a promise we'd probably break but meant anyway. Afterward, we lay tangled together, my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat slow. I have enemies, he said quietly. People who will see you as a weakness. Then I'll learn to be a strength. You'll have to change your life. Move in here. Give up some of your independence. I'll negotiate the independence part. I traced patterns on his chest. But yes, I'll move in. My family will judge you. They'll think you're a liability. Your family sounds delightful. Can't wait to meet them. He laughed, the sound rusty and surprised. You're impossible. You like impossible. I do. He kissed the top of my head. God help me. I really do. We stayed there as the sun climbed higher, talking through the logistics of our new life. I'd take a leave from Street Vincent's, at least until the trial. Sophia would help me move my things. Dante would introduce me to his inner circle slowly, carefully. There's one more thing, he said hesitantly. What? My grandmother. She lives in the family compound upstate. She's 93, sharp as a knife, and terrifying in ways I can't explain. He looked almost nervous. She'll want to meet you. Is that a good thing? If she likes you, you're untouchable. If she doesn't, he trailed off. Well, no one has survived her disapproval, but there's always a first time. I laughed, surprised by how normal this conversation felt. When? Next week. She's having a dinner. Very formal, very Italian, very judgmental. Perfect. I'll wear my best bulletproof vest. That's not a joke. You probably should. We fell silent again, and I felt the weight of everything we were choosing settle over us. This wasn't a romance novel. There wouldn't be a neat happy ending, just days strung together, dangerous and precious, building towards something that might be love, or might be disaster. But as I lay there in Dante's arms, I realized I didn't care which it was. I was choosing this, choosing him, choosing a life that was messy and complicated and absolutely terrifying. And for the first time since Derek had hurt me, I felt like myself again, not the woman I'd been before. Someone new, someone stronger, someone who looked at danger and decided she was worth fighting for. Dante? Thank you. For seeing me that morning in the coffee shop. His arms tightened around me. Thank you for letting me. We drifted off to sleep as the city woke up around us. Two damaged people finding something like peace in the wreckage. It wouldn't last forever. Nothing did. But for now, it was enough. 3 months later, I stood in Dante's grandmother's garden, surrounded by roses and killers. The trial had ended 2 days ago. Viktor Volkov was going to federal prison for the rest of his life. His organization dismantled, his empire ash. I'd testified, faced him one last time, and walked out of that courtroom free. Now Dante's family was celebrating. And judging me. You're the girl who brought down the Volkovs. An elderly man in an expensive suit studied me. Impressive. I just told the truth. In our world, that's the most dangerous thing you can do. He smiled. I'm Uncle Carmine. You'll do well here. He moved away, and Sophia appeared at my elbow with champagne. You're surviving, she observed. Barely. That's the third person who's called me, the girl. I have a name. They know your name. They're testing you, seeing if you'll correct them. She clinked her glass against mine. The fact that you haven't snapped yet is impressive. Dante found me an hour later, looking exhausted but pleased. How bad is it? Your cousin Marco asked if I knew how to shoot. Your Aunt Teresa asked about my childbearing hips, and someone named Big Joey offered to teach me how to clean bloodstains. I took a long sip of champagne. So, pretty normal family gathering. He laughed, pulling me close. Come on. Nana wants to meet you. His grandmother sat in a sunlit room, tiny and ancient and radiating power. Her eyes the same midnight black as Dante's fixed on me immediately. So, you're Elena. Yes, ma'am. Sit. She gestured to the chair across from her. Dante started to follow, but she waved him off. Alone. Go away, Dante. He looked at me questioningly. I nodded. He left, though reluctance showed in every line of his body. My grandson tells me you chose this life, Nana said. That's unusual. Most women are born into it or trapped by it. Few choose it. I chose Dante. The life came with him. Honest. Good. She poured espresso from a silver service. What else do I need to know about you? I'm a physical therapist. I like my work. I have a grandmother who taught me Spanish and self-respect. And I'm not easy to scare. Clearly. She sipped her espresso. Dante's mother was easy to scare. That's why she left. My daughter-in-law was weak. With respect, ma'am. I think leaving took incredible strength. Nana's eyebrows rose. You defend the woman who abandoned her children? I defend a woman who survived however she could. Just like I defended myself against Viktor Volkov. Survival looks different for everyone. The old woman was silent for a long moment. Then she smiled sharp and approving. You'll do. You have spine. She set down her cup. But understand this, child. My grandson has been alone for a very long time, closed off. You've opened something in him, and that makes him vulnerable. If you hurt him, I won't. You might. Not intentionally, but hearts are fragile things, especially ones that have been broken before. Her eyes bored into mine. So I'm asking you, are you certain? Because if you have doubts, leave now. Better to hurt him a little today than destroy him completely tomorrow. I thought about the question seriously. Thought about the danger, the violence, the uncertainty. Thought about Dante playing piano at 3 a.m., making terrible eggs. Looking at me like I was worth burning the world for. I'm certain, I said quietly. I love him. And I know that's fast and probably crazy, but it's true. Nana's expression softened. Love is always crazy. The good kind of crazy. She stood, and I realized how small she was. Welcome to the family, Elena. Try to keep my grandson out of too much trouble. No promises. Smart girl. The party continued into the evening. I met more relatives than I could count. Heard stories about Dante as a child. Saw him relax in ways I'd never witnessed. He laughed more. Touched me constantly. Little gestures of affection that announced our relationship to everyone present. We were real. Official. Claimed. As the sun set, Dante pulled me away from the crowd, leading me to a quiet corner of the garden. Well, he asked. Verdict? Your family is terrifying and lovely, and I think I like them. Even Marco? Especially Marco. He offered to take me to the shooting range. Of course he did. Dante shook his head. I'm sorry if it was overwhelming. It wasn't. It was. I searched for the word. Human. They're just people, trying to survive and protect each other. I understand that. He pulled me close, and I leaned into him, breathing in his familiar scent. Cedar and smoke and home. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For staying, for testifying, for being brave enough to choose this life. He kissed my temple. For choosing me. Thank you for seeing me that morning, for giving me a reason to be brave. We stood there as the garden lights came on, as laughter and music drifted from the house, as the night settled around us. Dante? I've been thinking about what happens next. He tensed slightly. And I want to go back to Street Vincent's. Part-time, maybe. But I miss my patients. I pulled back to look at him. I know that complicates security, but we'll make it work. He said it without hesitation. You shouldn't have to give up who you are to be with me. Are you sure? Elena, you made me promise I wouldn't change you. That promise still stands. He cupped my face. Besides, Sophia's been looking for an excuse to take more self-defense classes. She'll enjoy being your shadow. I laughed, imagining Sophia intimidating my patients. This is going to be interesting. Everything about us is interesting. He kissed me then, soft and sweet, and I felt the last of my doubts dissolve. This life wouldn't be easy. There would be more threats, more danger, more moments where I questioned my sanity. But there would also be this, Dante's arms around me, his family accepting me, the knowledge that I'd found something worth fighting for. I love you, I said against his lips. He stilled. We hadn't said it yet, both too afraid of the weight those words carried. Elena, you don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know. I do say it back. His voice was rough. I've been in love with you since you told me you didn't need saving. Since you looked at me like I was human instead of monster. Since you stayed when you should have run. That's a lot of sinces. I'm making up for lost time. He kissed me again, deeper. I love you, Elena Vasquez. Dangerously. Completely. Probably too much for both our goods. Good. I like too much. Somewhere behind us, someone called Dante's name. The real world, intruding. But for this moment, in this garden, we were just us. Two damaged people who'd found each other in the chaos. Ready to go back? I asked. Not yet. He held me tighter. Just another minute. So we stayed there, holding each other as the stars came out, building memories we'd both carry through whatever came next. Because there would be danger again. Threats, enemies. The price of loving a man like Dante Caruso. But I'd learned something important in the past 3 months. Love wasn't about safety. It was about choosing someone and fighting like hell to keep them. And I was very, very good at fighting. 6 months later, the coffee shop on the ground floor of Street Vincent's looked exactly the same. Same barista who smelled like cinnamon. Same terrible fluorescent lights. Same corner booth where everything began. I sat in that booth now, waiting. Dante was meeting me after my shift. We had plans to visit my grandmother, then dinner at his favorite Italian restaurant. Normal couple things. Well, as normal as things got when your boyfriend was a reformed mob boss trying to legitimize his business empire. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophia. Found the leak in the Morrison investigation. Handled. You're clear. I deleted the message. Some things were better not known. The door opened, and Dante walked in, looking unfairly handsome in a dark suit. His eyes found mine immediately, and I saw his expression soften in that way that was just for me. He slid into the booth across from me, and I pushed his usual black coffee toward him. How was physical therapy? He asked. Good. Mrs. Chen is almost back to full mobility. And I only had one person ask why I have security now. I smiled. Small victories. Everything's a small victory with you. He reached across the table, lacing his fingers through mine. I like that about you. Yeah? Yeah. He brought my hand to his lips. Thank you, by the way. For being here. For not giving up on me. Or this life. Or us. For making me believe in things I thought I'd lost. I felt tears prick my eyes. Dante. I mean it, Elena. Before you, I was just existing. Going through motions. Now. He smiled. Genuine and warm. Now I'm living. Good. Because you're stuck with me now. Is that a threat? It's a promise. The barista called out an order. Outside, the city moved and breathed. And in our corner booth where a dangerous man had once seen a woman limping and decided to change both their lives, we sat together. Scarred, healing, impossibly, improbably whole. The man who'd made the man who hurt me disappear, and the woman who'd chosen to stay anyway.